What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com, covering your Missouri Tigers. And ladies and gentlemen, we just got a massive update on one of the most important players on the Missouri Tigers roster. Pete Thamel of ESPN is reporting that Missouri right tackle Armand Membou is declaring for the NFL draft. He told ESPN he projects as a top 100 player per NFL scouts. He started 30 career games at Missouri and allowed just one sack and 388 pass block plays this year. He said he's opting out of Missouri's bowl game. Pete Thamel also added a quote from Membou himself saying, "I just feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm good enough and it's time for me to move on to the next chapter of my career. I'm very appreciative of Coach Drinkwitz and the opportunity he gave me and Coach Brandon Jones for helping me understand the game of football and offensive line play." And guys, there's no sugarcoating it. This is a massive loss for the Mizzou football roster, but it's also not that surprising. It was always a strong possibility that Armand Membou could be heading to the NFL after this season. He's been dominant each of the last two seasons. He just finished up his junior year. Scouts have likely seen everything they've needed to see out of him, and I think all signs are pointing towards him being a day 1 or 2 pick in the NFL draft. So I don't blame Membou whatsoever for declaring for the NFL draft. I think this is a great decision on his part. But that said, you now have another void to fill on the offensive line for next year. There was some speculation that Armand Membou could come back for one more season at Mizzou and that Mizzou could put together an attractive NIL package to keep him for one more season to make another run at a national championship or an SEC championship. But ultimately, he decided that he's ready for the NFL. And again, it's not a bad decision, and I don't fault him whatsoever. But all that being said, this means that Missouri now has to replace both left tackle and right tackle on their offensive line. And that's going to be a tall task, and I'm going to be curious to see if they utilize the transfer portal to address both left tackle and right tackle. We already know that Marcus Bryant, their starting left tackle from this season, is out of eligibility and he's moving on, and that's a big spot right there. But then right tackle, Armand Membou, was such a solid starter there for the past couple of seasons, and I hope Missouri fans are not taking for granted the player that he was, because that's going to be a massive, massive hole to fill. It's just going to be a challenge, and that's just me being objective. That's just me being blunt. It's going to be a challenge for this Missouri coaching staff to find his replacement. But I also have seen a lot of negative reaction to this because Missouri is, of course, losing their best offensive lineman and their starting right tackle that they thought there might be a chance that they would still have next year. But here's the thing, guys. It is never a bad thing to put a player in the NFL. If Armand Membou goes out there and ends up being a top 100 pick like Pete Thamel is suggesting, that is a great recruiting tool. There is no better recruiting tool than saying you put guys in the NFL. Armand Membou would be just another feather in the cap of Eli Drinkwitz since he's been the head coach, the amount of players that he has sent to the league. And I just, it cannot be overstated how important it is to put players in the NFL, because that's when your program really starts to take off. So I'll never be upset at Mizzou putting a player in the NFL. And I definitely think Armand Membou will go on to be a really good NFL player that will play a really long time. I do think he projects as a guard at the next level. He played tackle at Mizzou, but most scouts have been saying that they see him as a guard. And I agree with that. I think he has the size of a guard, but he has really good athleticism. He plays with a nasty streak. I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, as well as a lot of people on this channel. And I'm telling you right now, for my Chiefs fans, if the Chiefs decide not to pay Trey Smith this offseason, Armand Membou would be a plug-and-play replacement in the NFL draft for Trey Smith. He plays just as nasty. He's strong. He's athletic. Run blocks well, but I think he has an even higher ceiling as a pass blocker than even a Trey Smith. So, yeah, love Armand Membou. Best of luck to him going to the NFL. But let's talk a little bit more about what Mizzou now does because Armand Membou is gone. I expect them to hit the portal for an offensive tackle. I already expected them to hit the portal for an offensive tackle prior to this because of Marcus Bryant leaving. But I almost think you have to get both tackles out of the portal, and some people were a little skeptical of that when I mentioned it on Twitter, on my social media at ShowMeFB. I said that I think you got to go get both tackles out of the portal, and that's because I don't know if there's really anyone on this roster that's ready for that. Maybe you could move Caden Green to right tackle. I think Caden Green can play almost anywhere on the offensive line. When they first brought him here, before they got Marcus Bryant, they tried him out at left tackle. He played left guard this past season. Maybe he'd be better suited on the right side of the line. You also have Javen Richardson, one of the top JUCO offensive linemen that you reeled in last year. Maybe he can grasp one of those spots, but I just like it better when you bring in someone that's proven at the position. And maybe that's what you have to do. Some people have suggested Logan Riker. That was a top 200 kid that they brought in a couple years ago. That was one of the more highly touted offensive line recruits that Drinkwitz has brought in. I don't think Logan Riker is an offensive tackle, though. He has the size of a tackle, but I don't think he's quick enough on his feet. I don't think he's athletic enough to play tackle in the SEC. So with that being said, yeah, I would like to see Mizzou head into the portal maybe to find Armand Membou's replacement. And I think they have plenty of NIL money for that. You know, anytime I bring up a position that Mizzou could target in the portal or a player, specific player, people are like, oh, well, we need this, this, and that. And I don't think it's an either or scenario. I think Mizzou has plenty of money to go around. They're going to be aggressive in the transfer portal. They're going to fill holes. And you still have young and up-and-coming offensive line recruits on this team and in this incoming signing class that eventually will compete for those spots so that you don't have to replace both tackles in the portal every single year. That's obviously not something that you want to do, but it's something that Mizzou may have to do this year, and that's not that big of a deal. I always think it's the best strategy to stockpile as much talent as possible, and you figure out the rest later. If someone transfers out because of it, or someone else leaves and they get beat out, hey, look, that's college football. That's big boy sports. That's what this is. These guys are getting paid now. They're essentially professionals. So that's kind of where I see things. That's where I stand now with the offensive tackle position with the departure of Armand Membou. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Armand heading to the NFL draft. I want to hear from you guys, though, what your reaction was to this news. Are you shocked that Armand Membou is declaring for the NFL draft? Did you expect him to stay for another year? And where do you think Mizzou goes after this? Would love to hear from you guys. So with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Some more Mizzou fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on ShowMeFootball.com for more. And I will see you all in the next one. MIZ!